Okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead and start on lesson 9.9, where we're solving rational equations today, okay? So that means that you're going to get an equation and you're going to be looking for the x values, okay? So when solving rational equations, equations that contain one or more rational expressions are called rational equations, okay? How do you solve these rational equations? By getting rid of the fractions, which means getting rid of the denominator, okay? How do you do this? By multiplying by the least common denominator, which are things that we have already been doing. So, you know, this should not be something completely new, okay? And any solution that results in a zero in the denominator is going to be considered extraneous, right? Which is not the first time we've heard this word. We've already heard this word before. So let's go ahead and continue. Okay, so for example number 1, we are going to solve for 4 over x plus 3 plus 5 over x equals to 23 over 18. Okay, and we have to check our solution. Okay, so our first step, what is our first step going to be? So we're going to go ahead and we are going to multiply by the least common denominator. Okay, and then the second step is to divide common factors. Okay. And then we just simplify. And our last and final step would be to check answer using original equation. Okay? So that right there will be our steps for this. So now let's go ahead and start the problem. So we want to go ahead and we want to start by the least common denominator. Well, here I see an x plus 3, which I don't have anywhere else. And I do see a 6 and an 18. Okay, so my least common denominator here is going to be 18 times x plus 3, because the 6 can be multiplied to become 18, or you can divide 18 by 6. So I would rather stick with the 18 instead of the 6, or multiplying them together. So because they're divisible by each other, so it's just better to stick with the 18, and then the x plus 3, because we obviously need an x plus 3 in the other fractions. Okay, so now that we have the least common denominator, you have to multiply every single fraction by the least common denominator so that you can get your denominators to cancel out. So I'm going to go ahead and get 18 x plus 3, and I'm going to go ahead and multiply that by 4 over x plus 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and add, and once again, it has to get multiplied by 18 times x plus 3, and that has to get multiplied by 5 over 6, which is then going to equal to, once again, 18 times x plus 3 multiplied by 23 over 18. Okay, so just remember, guys, that when you multiply a whole number times a fraction, you can just go ahead and multiply it times the numerator. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this times the numerator right here. And that's going to give me 18x plus 3 times 4 over x plus 3 plus 18x plus 3 times 5 over 6 equals to 18x x plus 3 times 25 over 18. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we are going to divide the common factors. Because all of this is multiplication, guys. Yes, I do know I have addition, but this addition is being separated from everything with parentheses. You can actually just go ahead and cancel these out. So this x plus 3 and this x plus 3 cancels out. 18 divided by 6 is going to be the value of 3. So that's going to leave me with a 3. Okay, and then on the other one, this 18 and this 18 cancel out. So once those cancel out, what am I left with? I am left with 18 times 4 plus 3 times 5 times x plus 3 equals to 25 times x plus 3. Oops. I just realized that this number is 23 and I've been putting 25, so I'll make sure that's a 23. Okay, 23. So now you can go ahead and multiply 18 times 4. 18 times 4 is going to be 72. 3 times 5 is going to be 15. And then 15 times x plus 3. Then you're going to get 23 times x, which is going to be 23x. And then 23 times 3, which is going to be 69. So now 15 times x is going to be 15x. And then 15 times 3 is going to be 45. Equals to 23x plus 69. We can go ahead and combine like terms. So 72 plus 45, and that is going to give you 117. So you're going to get 15x plus 117 equals to 23x plus 69. And so now we can go ahead and we can solve this using SWBAT if you want to, so that it can help you out how to solve for this. So we can go ahead and use SWBAT. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract the 69. Okay. And then that's going to give me 15x plus 48 equals to 23x. So now I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 15x because it's similar to combining like terms. That's what we're doing. We're combining like terms. So you're going to get 48 equals to 8x. And after that, we divide by 8. So x is going to equal 48 over 8, which then simplifies to a value of 6. Okay, so for example, number 2. We are going to solve for x over x minus 3 plus x over x plus 3 equals to 2 over x squared minus 9. Okay, and then we have to check our solutions, or check solutions. Okay, so once again, we start by looking for the least common factor. Now, I don't know what this might look like, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to factor it out. Now, remember, you're going to be using difference of squares. Okay, so that means that I'm going to end up with x over x minus 3 plus x over x plus 3 equals to 2 over x plus 3 x minus 3. Okay, so what is my least common denominator? Well, my least common denominator is going to be x plus 3 x minus 3. Okay, because I need to get this fraction here and this fraction here to get this denominator, so that way the denominators can cancel out. So I need both of these right here to be my least common denominators. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I am going to multiply the equations by my least common denominator, so that way I can get x plus 3, x minus 3, times x over x minus 3, plus x plus 3, x minus 3, times x over x plus 3 equals to x plus 3 times x minus 3 times 2 over x plus 3 x minus 3. Now, don't be afraid about using space, guys. If you feel like you're going to need more space, then obviously, like, get more paper, you know? So now let's go ahead and multiply. Remember, when you're multiplying whole numbers, or you just multiply them times your numerator right here. So then that's going to give me x plus 3, x minus 3 times x over x minus 3 plus x plus 3, x minus 3 times x over x plus 3 equals to x plus 3, x minus 3 times 2 over x plus 3, x minus 3. And what you're going to see after we do step 2, which is eliminate common factors, go ahead and start eliminating. What I notice is the same is the x minus 3, x minus 3, x plus 3, x plus 3. These two cancel out right here. So my denominators are now gone. So now I'm going to end up with x plus 3 times x plus x minus 3 times x equals to 2. So now we multiply them. Using the distributive property, x times x is going to be x squared, x times 3 is going to be 3x, plus x times x is going to be x squared, and then x times negative 3, negative 3x equals to 2. Now, do notice here that I put these in parentheses, right? Because I do have to distribute this positive into the second fraction. When you guys were doing, I think, the quiz and other homework, you guys were getting these questions wrong because you forgot to put the second expression in parentheses. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you can have a negative here or a subtraction, and the subtraction is going to change both of these values right here. So you need to put parentheses to evaluate this plus into that the second expression. Yes, it is a positive. Is it going to really change the values right now? No, but if it were negative, it would. So you would have to be careful for that. So I'm going to go ahead and get x squared plus 3x, and then a positive times a positive is just going to remain a positive, and then a positive times a negative is going to remain a negative. So now we can go ahead and combine like terms. X squared plus x squared, 2x squared, the 3x and the negative 3x cancel out. So 2x squared equals 2. Okay? Now we can go ahead and divide by 2. X squared is going to equal to 1. Okay? We do the square root to get rid of that power of 2. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So x is going to equal to plus or negative 1. Remember, when you do square roots, you get positives and negatives. So that's going to equal to plus or negative 1. Okay, so that means that I can get x equals to a positive 1 or x equals to a negative 1. Okay, so now we have to go ahead and we check our solutions. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this. Oops, I can't spell today, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and do x equals to 1. And we're going to plug this into our original equation. So that means I'm going to get 1 over 1 minus 3 plus 1 over 1 plus 3 equals to 2 over 1 plus 3, 1 minus 3. Okay, well, what's 1 minus 3? That's negative 2. Plus 1 over 1 plus 3 is 4 equals to 2 over 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So we're going to get 1 over negative 2 plus 1 over 4 equals to 2 over 4 times negative 2 is going to be negative 8. So a positive divided by a negative, guys, here is going to be a negative. Okay, and then 8 and 2 are both divisible by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4, and then 2 divided by 2 is just going to be 1. Okay, so now here I do need to get the common denominator. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use multiplying 2 by 2 to get 4, and then what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. That's going to be a 2. So I'm going to have negative 2 over 4 plus 1 over 4. Negative 2 plus 1 is going to be negative 1 over 4 equals to negative 1 over 4. So that means that x equals to 1 is going to be my real solution. And I believe that this one right here, the x equals to negative 1, is going to be my extraneous solution. So, or it can also be real. Like, that's the thing. You don't know. It could be extraneous or it could be real, so we need to check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and check our next solution, which is going to be x equals to negative 1. And I noticed right now that I was actually not even using the original equation, but it's totally fine. Like, I'm still going to get the same answer. So I'm going to go ahead and get negative 1 over negative 1 minus 3 plus negative 1 over negative 1 plus 3 is going to equal to 2 over negative 1 squared minus 9. Okay, so negative 1 minus 3 is going to be negative 4. Plus negative 1 over negative 1 plus 3 is going to be 2. It's going to equal to 2 over negative 1 squared, which is a positive 1, minus 9. So a negative 1 divided by a negative 4 is going to be a positive 1/4, plus a negative 1/2 is going to equal to 2 over 1 minus 9 is going to be negative 8. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this by 2 to give me 4. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 1 plus a negative 2 is going to be a negative 1/4. And then 2 divided by negative 8 is going to be a negative 1/4, which therefore they equal to each other. So this is also true. So that means that x equals to negative 1 is also going to be a real solution. Okay, now we're going to leave it at that for today, and I'm going to continue with part 2 on Monday and give you homework for this on Monday.